Morning students, Saira. This is Megha Miss here, and today we are going to continue with our lesson number 1, that is gravitation, and we are in the session 2. Okay, now we'll just have a quick recap of what we have studied in the previous session. Okay students, now you studied first point was the gravitational force. Yes, Newton was the scientist. He told that the gravitational force is there. It is the universal force also, he said, because many objects can be attracted towards each other because of this force. He also said in the context that the earth is pulling all the objects towards it because of the gravitational force. Then we studied about the circular motion and the centripetal force. If any of the object is moving in a circular motion, then we will say that a force is directed towards the center, which is pulling it, okay, towards the center, and this force we called it as the centripetal force. Okay students, then we studied about the Kepler's law. We saw that Kepler gave 3 laws. He studied the planetary motions of the planet, and at the end also we saw that he could not explain all the planets obey his laws or not. Okay, but whatever study he did was not a waste. Many of the scientists, they used his study and they could formulate some new laws. Okay, such we will see what Newton did with the help of his law. Okay students, now Newton's universal law of gravitation. Now one more law Newton gave. What he said, according to this theory, every object in the universe attracts every other object with a definite force. Okay, so there is some force with which two objects in the universe are attracted towards each other. This force is directly proportional to the product of their masses. Now of course those two objects will be having some masses. Yes, and inversely proportional to the square of the distance between them. Whatever will be the distance, that will be inversely proportional. Its square will be inversely proportional to that force. Okay students, mathematically we will see how this law is formulated. Okay, now see here. Here figure 1.5, this is given in your text, shows two objects with mass m1 and m2. You can see a blue color ball is there. It is one of the objects having the mass m1. Force you can see given in blue color only, which it is exerted, that is capital S. Then you can see a small green color ball which is showing the mass m2. It is also possessing a force that is given by green color F, capital F. Okay, so mathematically the gravitational force of attraction between these two bodies, how mathematically we can write? F is directly proportional. There it is written A, that is also a mistake in your text, so make a correction there. F is directly proportional, it is a proportionality sign. M1 M2, that is product of masses. Okay, and inversely proportional, so we have written divide by d square. Okay students, now I want to remove that proportionality sign, so I have to add one constant. Yes, so I have added a constant, that is capital G. Can you see it in their equation? Yes, F is equal to G m1 m2 upon d square. Okay students, did you understand this? So here G is the constant of proportionality and it is called as universal gravitational constant. What you will call that G as students? Universal gravitational constant. You will remember F is equal to m1 m2, yes, upon d square. Okay, and we are adding G there, multiplying by G, because G is our universal gravitational constant. Okay, is it clear students? Okay, now the above law means that if the mass of the object is doubled, then the force between the two objects will also double. Now you know that the mass is directly proportional to force. So in direct proportion, you know, one quantity increase, other will also increase. So if I am doubling the object's mass, then the force will also double. Okay. Also, if the distance is doubled, now you know distance is inversely proportional. Okay, so if I am increasing the distance, doubling means it is already d square, now it will become double, means d raised to 4 it will become. Then the force will decrease by the factor of force is going to decrease because they are inversely proportional. Okay students, So if the two bodies are spherical, now only we saw we took the two bodies which were spherical. The direction of force is always along the line joining the centers, okay, of the two bodies. Force will be along the line joining the two centers of that body, okay, and the distance between them is taken to be d, and what we take the distance as small d, okay, between the two centers, whatever is the distance we will take it as small d, okay students. This is for spherical objects, okay. But now in case when the bodies are not spherical, not compulsory all the objects will be spherical, yes, or have an irregular shape they may have, then the direction of the force is along a line joining their centers of the mass, okay. Centers of the mass means what? Where the mass of that object is there we will have the force acting, and the d is taken to be the distance between the two centers of mass, okay students. Did you understand this? Okay. Now the SI units of G value, okay, we'll see. In SI units, the unit of G is Newton meter square kg inverse 2, okay students. So in SI units, what is the unit of G? That is Newton meter square per kg square, you can write. Per, if you are not writing, you can write kg raised to -2, okay. The value of G was first experimentally measured by Henry Cavendish, okay. He is the scientist who experimentally determined this value, okay. The SI unit, its value in SI unit, what is the standard value? G, it has got a standard value. This standard value you are going to use while solving the sums, okay students. So it is 6.673 into 10 raised to -11 Newton meter square kg inverse 2, okay students. Did you understand this? This is the standard value which you are going to use while solving the sums, okay. Now uniform circular motion and magnitude of centripetal force. Now we are going to find the value, okay, and we will see what is the uniform circular motion. Consider an object moving in a circle with a constant speed. Now there is an object which is moving in a constant speed around a circle. We have seen earlier that such motion, when it is possible, when there is some force is acting at the center. What is that force called, student, which is acting at the center? Centripetal force, yes. So this force which is because of the speed is constant and the object is moving in a circle, it is a centripetal force, okay. Now if F is the mass of the object, V is the speed with which it is moving, and R is the radius of the circle. As it is moving in a circular path, we will take the radius of the circle, that is R. Then it can be shown that this force means this centripetal force, what formula we can write? F is equal to mv square upon R, okay student. What you can write? F is equal to mv square upon R. So centripetal force you can give it in this way, okay students. Now if a planet is revolving, now we saw an object, okay, now we are taking the planet, okay. Now the planet is revolving around the sun in a circular orbit in uniform circular motion, then the centripetal force acting on the planet towards the sun must be F is equal to mv square upon R. Now first we took some object which is moving in a circular orbit, right? Now here we have taken the planet which is moving around the sun, okay. Moving means revolving, okay. So here also same centripetal force, how we will give? mv square upon R, where m is the mass of the planet, v is its speed, r is the distance, its distance from the sun, okay. Now we know, now you know the formula for the speed, you have studied in 9th standard also many formulas and definitions. So speed is equal to distance travelled, that is the total distance travelled upon time taken, okay students. Now the speed of the planet can be expressed in terms of period of revolution, okay. What is the speed of the planet? You can tell it in the terms of period of revolution, t, as follows. You can take it as capital T, okay. That is the time taken, you can take it as capital T. The distance traveled by the planet is in one revolution is equal to perimeter of the orbit. Now you know it is moving in one revolution, means it has complete one circle. So we will take the circumference of the circle, we will write it as 2 pi r. Okay, r is the distance of the planet from the sun. Okay, time taken we will take as period of revolution, that is capital T. What you will take it as? The speed of the planet can be expressed in terms of period of revolution T. You can determine the speed with the help of this time taken. Okay students, so here time taken we will write it as capital T. Now one revolution we have taken it equal to the perimeter of the orbit, that is 2 pi r. Okay, now we will see how we are using all these terms. Okay, now see here, v is equal to distance travelled upon time taken. Okay, I'll show you here, just wait a minute. Now see, v is equal to distance travelled upon time taken. Yes, instead of speed I have taken v. Okay, now you know what is the distance travelled. Total distance we have taken 2 pi r upon t. Okay, time taken we have taken as t, and distance travelled means how much it has covered in one revolution, that was perimeter, that we have taken as 2 pi r. Okay student, now this is the value for the v. Okay, now this v value we are going to substitute here in f formula. Okay student, where we are going to substitute? See, it is substituted here in this f. Okay, f is equal to mv square upon r. Okay, in that instead of v square you can see what we have substituted, 2 pi r upon t, what we have got it here. Okay, so we have substituted that 2 pi r upon t. Okay, m and r is as it is. Okay, it will become v square, so it has become square. Okay, now m as it is, 2 square is 4, pi raised to 2 will become pi square, and here r raised to 2 will become r square, right? Now this r square and this one r, can I cut off? Yes. How many r will remain? 1. Can you see that 1 r is here? Yes. Upon this t is there, t raised to 2 is t square, so t square as it is, this r went cut off. Okay, so multiplying and dividing by r square. Now what we are going to do? We are going to multiply and divide this equation what we have got by the r square. Okay students, so what you have got? F is equal to 4m pi square upon r square. We have divided by r square. Okay, and here this r is there, with that I am multiplying r square, so it will become r cube. Can you see it here written? Yes, upon t square as it is. Yes, so according to the Kepler's third law, now you have studied Kepler's third law, what it told? T square upon r cube is equal to k, that is the constant. Yes, now here you can see what we have got, r cube upon t square. Yes, it is inverse, so what we will write? 1 upon k we will write. Yes, so instead of this what I will write? 1 upon k. Okay, so can you see here I have multiplied 1, so no need to write that 1. Directly I have written k in the denominator, no need to show that 1 there, because 1 multiplied by 4 answer will be same only. So you got 4m pi square upon r square k, this whole equation, and down only we have added 1 k. Okay, now you know 4 is a constant number, m mass is going to be constant of the planet, pi value is a constant, and k is also constant. So all these terms are constant. Yes, so only what you got? F is equal to constant multiply by 1 upon r square. This remaining r square you got. Yes, so what you are getting? Therefore F is directly or inversely? Decide. Yes, F is inversely proportional to 1 upon r square. Okay students, did you understand? Please take your book, pen, and when you are watching it, side by side go on solving this. Pause the video and try to solve this equation on your own. You will really understand it. Okay, when you will do it on your own. Okay students, now thus Newton concluded that the centripetal force, which is the force acting on a planet and is responsible for its circular motion, must be inversely proportional to the square of distance between the planet and the sun. What he said, the centripetal force is there na, because of the circular motion of this planet. Yes, it is inversely proportional to what? To the square of distance between the planet and the sun. Okay students, Newton identified this force with the force of gravity and hence postulated the inverse square law of gravitation. We also called it as inverse square law of gravitation. Okay, the gravitational force is much weaker than other forces in nature, but it controls the universe and decides its future. Okay students, so next topic, I hope what we have done for the inverse square law, the derivation, you will do it on your own, you will better understand it. Okay students, now we are going to do the earth's gravitational force. Now what is this earth's gravitational force? The earth attracts every object near it towards itself because of the gravitational force. This we have studied in our first presentation also. The center of mass of the earth is situated at its center. Yes, mass is totally, we are assuming that it is at the center. So where will be the force also? In the center. So the gravitational force on any object due to the earth is always directed towards the center of the earth. So any of the gravitational force which is acted on an object, it is directed because of the center. Because of this force, an object falls vertically downward on the earth. Okay, the gravitational force due to the earth also acts on the moon, because of which it revolves around the earth. So not only between the different objects, but this gravitational force is also acting between the moon and the earth. Okay, and because of which moon is revolving around the earth. Okay students, now see here. Similar situation exists for the artificial satellites orbiting the earth. You know, artificial satellites are orbiting this earth. Yes, the moon and the artificial satellites orbit the earth. The earth attracts them towards itself. But unlike falling apple has fallen down on the earth. But are this moon and satellites, especially moon, we can't say satellites, we can say moon, do they fall on the earth? No. Why? We will see. This is because of the velocity of the moon and the satellites. You know, satellites also directly they don't come and fall on the earth. Yes. So this velocity of this moon and the satellites is there along their orbit. Yes, they are moving continuously, they are in motion. So they possess some velocity, and because of this velocity they do not fall on the earth. Okay student, what is the reason why moon and the satellites do not fall on the earth? Because they are moving in certain velocity. Now that falling apple, it was first on the tree, then it came down, velocity was 0 initially. Yes, but now this motion, this moon and all, they are moving continuously, so they are possessing continuously some velocity, and because of which they do not fall on the earth. Okay students, so today we have come to the end of this session. What we studied about Newton's universal law of gravitation. You saw, yes, you saw that F is directly proportional to the square of masses and inversely proportional to the square of distance between the two objects. Yes, then magnitude of centripetal force, we saw that this force is inversely proportional to the square of the distance between the two objects. Yes, then we saw the earth's gravitational force, that this, because of the earth's gravitational force, it is directed towards the center of the earth and the objects fall vertically downwards. I hope students what we have done today you have understood. Go through it properly. We will meet in the next session. Thank you. Sai Ram.